What's up guys, this is the Honest Outlaw here, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 reasons why you shouldn't buy a Glock. Now before I start this video, I do want to mention that I am a fan of Glock, even kind of a Glock fanboy.
What is this baller ass recoil control you had?
I'll show you. To the point to where I own many Glocks. I own 10 plus Glocks, and I probably own 50 in my lifetime. I grew up shooting them, and don't get me wrong, they are amazing guns. But there's a couple of reasons now why I think today in 2019, why you might want to consider other options, and in this video, I'm gonna give you those reasons why. Now, before I start that video, I want to mention my patron supporters. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate all your support, and because of that, we do giveaways and patron-only content. I appreciate it even more now that YouTube completely demonetized my channel. My channel is 100% demonetized by YouTube. Because of that, my channel is completely funded by patrons. So you guys are the reason why this channel keeps moving, and I really appreciate that. I also want to mention I have started some Amazon links down below. They are affiliate links, so if you go to them, it will help the channel. But a lot of people ask me about guns, gear, gloves, things like that, red dot sights, flashlights, so there'll be links to some of my favorite products in that description below. All right, now back to the video. The 5 reasons why you shouldn't buy a Glock. Let's start out with number 5 here, the grip. Now, the grip on a Glock has long been something that I haven't been the biggest fan of. Now, I got used to it because I've been shooting them since I was a teenager. But the reality is there are many guns today, including the M&P series, the PPQ, and the VP9, the P10 series, and all of them have drastically improved on the Glock. Now you can say that they're Glock copies, you can say that they've came out and they've done what Glock did. Well, that's true, but if they do it better, who really cares? So there's a couple of things wrong with the Glock grip that I wanted to point out. Now I can point that out even more dramatically on my Gen 534 here, whereas you see that it has quite a bit of hump there and quite a different grip angle than something like an M&P that people are generally used to. Now that's a grip angle that once you get used to is certainly okay. However, if you do a lot of transitioning between different platforms, like if you shoot an M&P a lot or you shoot a CZ a lot, and then you try to transition to a Glock, a lot of times you'll end up shooting high because the gun takes a little more angle of the wrist to actually break the gun down and shoot correctly. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people steer away from Glock, especially now that there are other options where you don't have to change your grip angle and your overall shooting stance to actually accommodate the Glock. So if you don't like that, I completely understand. Another reason along with the grip is something that a lot of people fix in aftermarket, and that is going to be the trigger guard. The trigger guard, or Glock knuckle as they call it, creates a lot of friction and stuff on your finger there when you shoot a lot of Glocks, which is the reason why most people smooth this out or even cut it a little bit deeper. You can either do that yourself with a Dremel, or you can get it done by tons of companies, dozens of companies do Glock frame modifications now, and the reason why that is because the frame and the grip itself simply is just not as comfortable as something like an M&P or a P10C or even a PPQ. As you can see here, the grip on the M&P is done significantly better, along with the texture on the M&P is far superior than the Glock itself. So that's one reason why you might want to avoid Glock. Now the 4th reason to avoid Glock is going to be customer service. So if you have a problem with your Glock, which most people don't, in all fairness, they are pretty well known for reliability and durability, but if you do have an issue with Glock, their customer service is not the best, at least from my perspective and from the perspective of many comments that I've had on my video. Not only do I have a lot of experience with firearms, but I happen to have the benefit of having lots of people that watch my videos every time, and I probably interact with hundreds of people every other day about specific guns, so I get a lot of feedback from the community that most people don't get. And from that, I found out that Glock customer service sometimes can be a little lackluster. And I had that experience a couple of months ago when my Glock 45, the frame in it actually broke, and I can show you some video of that right here. But the frame actually broke, so I had my FFL send it back to Glock, expecting their customer service to send me a new frame. That's not the case. They actually sent it back and they fixed nothing the first time. I sent it back to them again and they fixed nothing the second time and basically told me, well, it's up to you. It's still mildly functional, so it's not a big deal. So I had a real issue with that, considering I spent, or wasted rather, lots of time sending it in, sending it back, sending it in, sending it back, and also the money that it took me to ship it there and back. I think the FFL charges like 20 bucks to ship a gun or something like that. The point I'm trying to make is for a company that is as world-renowned as Glock is, you think that they would fix their products when they actually broke, but they didn't. And if that was the only instance, it wouldn't be a big deal. However, I've heard dozens of different claims like that on my comment section, so I figured I would just mention that, considering out of all the companies that I've worked for or worked with, the major companies that I've had problems with, whether that be Smith & Wesson or CZ, or even smaller companies like Radical Firearms or something like that, if you have any issue, traditionally they will fix it very quickly. An example of that is the Archon Type B. I had a problem with the Archon Type B. The gun was non-functional from the box. I sent it back to them within a week. They had it back to me and working like a dream. At number 3, we are gonna have overrated reliability. Now, what I mean by that is Glock is world-renowned for reliability, but the reality is that there are lots of guns that have matched or even exceeded Glock reliability. Now, again, I'm in a bit of a unique position, as I do have a channel where I review firearms, so I've had the luxury and the pleasure to shoot most of the major pistols on the market lots and lots of times. I usually do 1,000-round reviews when I do reviews, and I have dozens of them on my channel now. So I've had experience with many different major platforms, including the P10C, PPQ, M&P, VP9, and so on. So all of those guns, in my personal opinion, except for maybe the VP9, which has some water lock issues, most of those guns, if not all of those guns, are as reliable as the Glock. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be more reliable, but what I'm saying is many people buy Glock and they truly drink the Kool-Aid and they believe that they are the most reliable gun on the market. Now, from my experience, that's simply not true. My P07 from CZ has been significantly more reliable than all of my Glocks put together. Same with my CZ Shadow, same with my CZ Orange. All of those guns would eat any type of ammunition, whether it be from polymer frangible ammunition all the way up to 147 grain subsonic. Glocks simply won't do that. I have many Glocks that won't work if you put weapon lights on the front, or if you put a specific threaded barrel. Even if you put a suppressor, sometimes the weight of that will change the reliability of the Glock. So overall, if you're going to be adding accessories, you're going to be changing different types of ammo, or sometimes even shooting in adverse conditions. I used to do the gauntlet tests, and the Glocks were by far not the best out of those tests. Even things like the AREX Zero has shown to be a little bit more reliable than the Glock in adverse conditions. Now, albeit those are only one-off tests, but they still give you a little bit of a data point. Overall, what I'm trying to say is that Glocks are not unreliable by any stretch of the imagination. They're extremely reliable as you would ever want a gun to be. But if you're going to buy a gun based on the fact that they're the most reliable, you know, if you're going to sacrifice things like ergonomics or how the gun feels or how accurate it is in your hand because you think it's more reliable than, let's say, a PPQ or an HKP30, maybe reconsider that. All right, so my number 2 is going to be kind of a controversial pick because I don't actually really believe this, but I have seen a lot of things about it on the internet, and it's a major discussion point when people are talking about how they don't like Glocks. That one of the number 1 reasons that I see, which is why I put it at number 2, is that they're ugly. I know that they're not as aesthetically appealing as some guns, however, it doesn't bother me as much as it bothers a lot of people that I've seen on the internet and the comments and stuff like that. But since it does bother a lot of people, I will discuss it. Now, the Glock has been affectionately called the Block for a long time, and that's because most of the time they are not as appealing to the eye as guns like the VP9, for example, or the PPQ, or even the Canic really has a better, more sleek, appealing look to the eye than the Glock does. The Glock is just basic. fantastic, with literally nothing else involved to make it look better. Now there's things that you can do to make the gun look better. You can do slide cuts, you can put in aftermarket triggers and rails and all kinds of awesome stuff to make the gun look a little bit more appealing, but the reality is that they are a little bit ugly, and whether you like them or hate them, you can't deny that there are better looking guns out there. Now whether that's going to be a point for you to stay away from or a point for you to actually buy, depending on which one you think is right, whether you think they're good looking or whether you think they're ugly, that's really up to you. But I had to put it in at number 2 because if you go all over the internet and if you look at any message board or any video on a Glock of any kind, you will see people calling them a block, and you will see people calling them that ugly 9mm pistol or whatever. So I just had to mention it. We're gonna have one that really kind of applies to the slightly older generations because the newer generations have sort of fixed this, but I wanted to add in the fact that they're kind of stuck in the 90s. Now what I mean by that is they have a lot of features on guns that most gun companies have changed by now. And I kind of got into that a little bit with the grip, but I want to get into that a little bit more overall. So what I'm talking about is most guns are more ergonomic and they come with better features than the Glocks do out of the box. A lot of times Glocks come with just the most standard basic features, something that you would see now on like a Taurus G2C or like even sub $200 guns, even though Glock is a $500 gun. So they basically come with a kind of a shitty grip, kind of a shitty trigger guard, as I mentioned earlier, but they also come with really bad sights. Most of them don't come with front slide serrations, although new MOS versions do. Again, you have to pay a little bit extra to get the red dot cutout. Many guns today come with the red dot cutout standard, which is an amazing feature. They come with upgraded barrels. The Glocks still come with, as you can see here, this one doesn't have one, but this one does, come with the standard accessory rail over an actual Picatinny rail. So if you're gonna use a gun light, or if you're gonna use a weapon light, like an X300 or something like that, you're gonna have to change the mounting system in order for it to work well with Glock, if you're gonna switch it from your Glock to your AR-15, or even to something like this M&P, which has a standard Picatinny rail, which I consider to be superior. I would say that some of the features on the Glock make it subpar in comparison to something like an M&P 2.0 or a CZP-10C, where you're already going to get 3-dot sights, the grip's going to be much better, and especially the trigger. And that's what I really wanted to focus on. Guns like the M&P, the original M&P, didn't have the best trigger in the world. As you can see, I have upgraded this even still, but the M&P 2.0 triggers really figured out that, hey, I need to have a better trigger to keep up with today's market. Because guns like the PPQ, the VP9, the P10C, all those guns have exceptional triggers. Even the new Canik series has an exceptional trigger by comparison to the standard Glock. And I understand why Glock wouldn't want to change, because they're still at the top of the market. And sorry if I keep showing this incredibly customized Glock here instead of a standard Glock, but this is just the Glock I have out on the table today, and I figured it would be good enough. The reality is that you're gonna have to do all these things to your Glock and spend an extra $500 just to get it up to the same ergonomics, feel, trigger, and sights that you would get from an out-of-the-box Canik or P10C, or even the new FN 509 mid-size or tactical. They all come with far superior upgrades and accessories than the Glock does today. So that was 5 reasons why you might want to stay away from a Glock, especially for your first purchase. I really believe Glock has fallen behind the curve as far as overall accessories and features that you can get on the gun from the box, especially considering the price of the gun overall. The price of a Glock traditionally is more than a P10, or it's more than an M&P 2.0, and it's more than an FN 509, all of which I consider to be superior guns out of the box. So overall, this is my 5 reasons why you might want to stay away. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Make sure to go down there and join the Patreon if you want to keep the channel moving. I really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching. Says you can't hip fire accurately. I hit every one of those. I mean, it helps to have a shotgun, of course.